and welcome to this month's video where I answer some questions that I've been getting the past few months. And I would like to have this series return to more of a monthly basis, but obviously that requires more questions from you. And I know that I've been less active on posting videos where I'm talking compared to performing or showcasing recorded music. So it's on me and not on you, that's fine. So I want to start this video with, first of all, thanking all of you who have stayed with me so far, and also all of you new subscribers. Hi and welcome, and thank you very much for watching and spending your time with me. I want to know anything that you're wondering that either you have missed from older videos, or if there's something I'm talking about that you have questions about, or if there's something new or different that you wish that I would talk more about, let me know in the comments in this video, and I'll do my best to address them in January and February for those monthly Q&A videos. With that, let's start with what tuning I'm using on my guitar, and that's simply a standard D tuning on most of my songs. It's a tuning I'm most comfortable with, as it tends to lend a more somber feel to many things, while on many of the recordings I made in Belgium with Dea for Consider Suicide, his guitar was tuned in E, standard tuning, but we're also using a lot of effects, so it could just as well have been in D. I personally don't notice much of a difference, and the most important part is that I'm composing the songs in D, so that's the way that the chords will be working their best. As for my older recordings from around 2006 and maybe even around 2007, but especially before, for the first era, I didn't have a tuner and didn't like carrying one around, and I'm not a big fan of using things with batteries, but over the years I've been forced to deal with them and accept them into my life, as it allows for more portable recordings and adventures and so on. But those are somewhere between D and E in tuning because of the simple reason that I tuned it to ear. So simply I would tune the lower D string or E string, whatever you want to call it, and then simply tune the rest of the strings accordingly. Stand these trucks driving by outside here. It's completely counter to why I moved out here in the countryside, to not have the sounds of a city. And this year they will be cutting down a lot of the forests, so that makes everything sound a lot louder. it's very frustrating, and it's one of the reasons why I've been doing less videos where I'm talking. I moved out here to have less sound in my life, as it gives me panic attacks and anxiety, and I have too many days where I'm simply shut off. I'm trying to improve on that, but it's easier said than done. And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing more videos outside as well. But also, that's unfortunately one of the limitations with things like cameras and microphones, that they are sensitive to weather, and I happen to live in an area where it rains a lot, ridiculous amounts. As an example, I've only been able to go outside twice this past 2 weeks to record something, and even then I had to take breaks and be interrupted by it. Because obviously, if my camera breaks and if my guitar stops working or its pickups, it becomes an aspect ratio that is very unrealistic to proceed with, because I can't afford getting new equipment just to make one video. I'm not at that level really. So connected to that, old performances is something that I have a few videos of, but it features people that I want to be away, out of my circle and out of the history books as much as possible when it comes to anything that I've ever made, because they have been simply undevoted and unpleasant people. So they should not have that attention. I'd rather wait until the future and record new performances with other people or by myself. Because there is a limit to nostalgia. And then there is, of course, things like hardware limitations and corruption of files. I have plenty of things that simply doesn't work anymore for reasons unknown to me, and I can't afford giving them to someone to repair or fix it if it's even possible. And I especially can't afford giving someone one of my old hard drives and pay them just to hear that nothing can be done about it. I think we can all agree that that money is better spent on coffee and beer. As for making a acoustic or unplugged concert or a recording, that's something that has been planned for the future. And of course, various things happen in different years that puts that off to the next year. I composed an album in 2007 that is supposed to be acoustic. So that's saying something, I guess. It's been so far 13 years. It's one long song, just like Skogens hjärta is. But I won't record it until I have the right location for the recording and the right people to accompany me for it. because there are some things that I simply won't compromise on. Another thing that I'm getting a lot of questions about is side projects, and that's something that I will address in a separate video. But the category is characteristic by itself that I think explains itself. It's a side project. That means that it will get less attention and time than other things. But once again, from my part, I don't want to give it less effort. It needs to be of a similar or even higher quality of anything else that I do. And that's why I've been doing these different solo projects the last year, so that I can explore and release things that doesn't fit in my other bands, but allows me to experiment and also share things that maybe have some flaws, but they are a part of learning and exploring and getting better at composing music and producing music and using different, maybe less traditional instruments or approaches or odd effects and so on. Then there are questions that will be answered during my different beer and brewing or psychedelia videos and series that I'm still working on. As for beer and brewing, I can't afford making videos about that at the moment because grains and especially shipping out here is expensive. But if someone really wants to see me brew a beer, the best thing I can say is, without being rude, just honest, is get something worthwhile, substantial in my web shop. If you prefer that to a donation, so that you're getting something physical in return, like some shirts perhaps, or as you have seen lately, you can even buy a specific song that I will make with your requests in mind. That's an option, if you prefer that to a donation. There are many ways to do one thing. And in some of my videos, when I'm drinking something that isn't coffee or water, then yes, it's a wine that I've made from berries that I picked out here in the forests or in people's gardens, or other ways that I've been able to procure them. Same for beer. And it's something that I learned to make around a decade ago. One of my past friends, his neighbor, is a brewer. So one day I was offered to join him at his friend's little brewing bar, kind of neighborhood thing they had going on at a little village in Belgium. So I joined them for a day to mash and clean, make the wort and brew the beer, anything up until cooling down the wort and adding yeast and waiting, rather preparing it for fermentation, which is things that you usually do day one of a brewing process. And that was, of course, very useful and valuable information for me to learn how you can make it, but also they had a bit more sophisticated homebrewing system than what I use. So it took me a few years after that to learn, as I researched it more, that there are older traditions where they use more primitive methods. You don't need to buy an expensive system or be able to weld and create one yourself from other equipment. It can be pretty simple and old school. So from then on, which is now around 9 years ago, so I guess maybe it was closer to 11 or 12 years ago that I had my first brew day, but then it took around 2 or 3 years before I started brewing myself at home. Yeah, it's a very special ritual, I think, which is why it's so popular, and it's something that I really would love to make a series about someday, to share some recipes that I think are worth making and connected to other vices. I haven't gotten a lot of questions about this, but it's still worth answering, and it may be featured to some other extent. But yes, I have smoked in the past, and to me, and with my mentality, I think it's one of the easiest things to stop as well. And I've heard that it's one of the hardest things to stop, which to me is just bullshit. It's just about will. But of course, everyone is different. And I smoked for around 9 or 10 years, around 2.5 packs a day, until I started rolling them myself, and then I still stayed around that amount, like around 40-50 cigarettes a day. And when I've been touring, it's been around like 60. And that's one of the times when I decided to stop, because I started losing my voice more and more. And that's obviously less than optimal when you're trying to do concerts and travel between the concerts and be able to have conversations or even interactions, for that matter. But one thing that I can recommend, which I applied a few years ago when I didn't really start smoking, I just had a few weeks when I was around people that smoked, and I happened to enjoy smoking, so I smoked then I stopped when I was back home again. And my method or technique for stopping, which I also apply to drinking when I have periods of time when I don't drink, is that I set up a second bank account through my internet bank or my app on my phone, which is now possible. It wasn't in the past, but now it is, and I think so can be the case for many of you listening or watching. To have another account set up, or even something as simple as a piggy bank or a jar can work for that matter. Any time that you feel that it's getting hard to avoid the temptation to smoke or drink, think of the amount that you're going to spend on cigarettes or beer or vodka or whiskey or whatever. Put that money onto that account or in that jar, and do that each time. Pretend like you're spending the money and effort making that money and save it instead. And then one day you will have something, depending on you of course, and how long you're saving it, you will be able to actually invest that money into something that benefits you instead of gradually destroys you. It could be a new instrument, it could be an experience like traveling to a different country or going to a concert in the future. I know it's less possible now. Something like that, where you can give yourself or someone you love a gift. And once again, that can be an experience or wherever you happen to value. Maybe even a song from me. I don't know. Let's return and end this video on something else, a bit more substantial and affirming, since it's getting into that philosophical part. And I've never been religious, but I've always been spiritual. So something like God and religion has only been a part of my life when others have forced it upon me. For example, when I was young, I was baptized, but I never had my confirmation because I was old enough to know better then. And growing up in school, we had our ceremonies each year at school in a church, so that was more than enough for me to gradually feel each year that it's a world that I don't wish to be a part of. Then one of my mother's cousins plays the organ in several churches. And he had some experiences in the church that I know are too unpleasant for me to just speak casually about, because it's his private business. But those things, alone or together, is more than enough reason for me to not want to be a part of it. And of course, over the years, nature and the forest and getting involved into various occult teachings and practices, mysticism, and many different forms of Satanism and devil worship are things that I can connect to paganism and pantheism and other aspects of theology that I think are more on a, not just a spiritual level, but something that can be implemented and add value to your life spiritually and whatever you are active in doing. Philosophy is the word that I was thinking about that escaped my mind somehow. That to me, having a good outlook and philosophy that you can apply to what you're doing in life or what you wish to do with your life, that can be a religion by itself. And questions about meditation is something that I think is better suited for a separate video, because I know I've talked about meditation before and the ways that I implement it. And some of you who are new here maybe either missed those videos, or it's possible that I forgot to go in depth about different aspects of things like tattoos or cutting or wandering, composing and painting and things like that, how they each are connected to the ritual and the meditation, and what makes them a ritual and what makes them a meditation. So I think that's worthy of a breakdown, step by step in a video. Seems like people are going home or something at this time. There's very few hours of light now in this part of the winter. As you can see, it's getting darker and darker just by me doing this around 20 minutes long video. Yes, I know it's getting closer to 30, but that's how I see time. I prefer to not see it at all. I don't really think about it. It's better to focus on what you can do, not when it's done. Just do it. Either way, thank you all for watching, and I appreciate all of your support over time. And as I don't have access to printing smaller amounts of shirts or anything else for the moment, that's a reason why haven't been any new releases this year for shirts and things like that. Simply due to that, I haven't getting enough orders to finance new ones. So I'm going to prepare something and launch a pre-order, and simply the amount that gets ordered will be made, and that's that. So that's the only way I can make it happen this year. And for any questions or anything that you feel that I missed, or if you have requests about me talking about anything else, as always, I'm more than happy to read your comments, and I look forward to making an even better January Q&A video for all of you. And with that, I once again thank you for watching and listening, and have a good continuation onward to the next year of 2021. We'll see what happens. I believe that it holds a lot of promise, and there's a lot that I look forward to sharing with all of you. Take care.